difficult cases, how do you think about your desire to see Christ formed in them, as well as recognizing with pastoral patience that they're in process?
Well, I'm in process, so I'm not under any illusions. I hear the echo of Paul's words, not as though I have attained, but I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. We know what that prize is. It's to be like Christ. That's the prize of the high calling, and he's pressing toward that prize even though it's not attainable in this life. And that's why Paul says, take heed to your doctrine and your teaching. You start with your own doctrinal conviction. You start with your own life. You start with the realization that the patience of God is being exercised in you. One of the things that I think you have to overcome sort of in a consistent way is the fact that you have to preach a better message than you can live. And so there's always this sense of shortcoming in your own life. And although I've seen the Spirit of God in the sanctifying work in my life take me to places that 30 years ago I never thought I'd be in terms of my faithfulness to the Lord, I'm not what I ought to be. And I have to realize that if that's true in me, that's going to be true in everybody else. And I don't think the pulpit is a place where you necessarily hang out all your dirty laundry and grovel about your inadequacies in life. But I do think you deal with things in reality. And the second wave that you deal with is your own family and the people who are closest to you. And you're living a godly life in front of them, and they're not everything they should be. And the people you maybe have invested the most in aren't everything you'd want them to be. And I think you have to exercise the patience of Christ in dealing with his own disciples through all of this, who was saying the same thing at the end of the ministry he said at the beginning. Oh, you have little faith. And why hasn't there been more progress here? And that's why Paul says, preach the word, but be patient. And that patience is an expression of love to people. You cannot get up and preach some truth and expect that that's going to change everybody instantaneously. It's a small building block that begins the process of edification, and that takes time and years. And you begin to see the change when people aren't fighting anymore to do the right thing. It's almost their involuntary response. The default position is to do the right thing. And where you'll see it in the life of your church is when you call for any noble cause and they rush to that noble cause. You don't have to recruit, right?
Something you just said that I'd like to hear you expand on, Dr. Dever, and the rest of you as well. John, you said you have a kind of, I'm not going to use this word, authenticity when you preach, right? An awareness that you're a sinner too. At the same time, you're concerned about those who would flaunt their fallenness in the pulpit. Help us think about, and Dr. MacArthur, you go first here. Help us think about how to preach authentically, how to preach in that way. How do you strike that balance?
Are people accusing you of hanging out all your dirty laundry in your sermons?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think so. I've never done that. I don't talk about myself in my sermons. I rarely ever make any reference to myself. I'm not there to do that. But I think the people that know me and live with me all the time, like you, Austin, and so many others, you know me for who I am. I'm very much aware that I'm dependent on you, and the more intimately people are connected to me, the more I depend on them for the integrity and the moving of the ministry. So it matters to me supremely that I maintain a clear conscience before the Lord, that I know nothing against myself. Here, and am I not justified? The Lord knows the secrets of my heart, but that's where I have to start. And then that the people around me believe in me and believe in my integrity. So those are critical things. And yet, what drives me is not so much what they think of me, but what drives me is knowing that's important. Am I right before the Lord? And that's just a pursuit. That's just a pursuit of the heart. I don't know if that's what you're intending out of the question. But.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Mark, is be yourself in preaching bad advice or good advice?
Well, it's necessary advice in the sense that I can't hear Al speak, and I've heard Al give some tremendous